Senator from West Virginia.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to highlight several key parts of the appropriations package that the Senate will be considering later on this week. First, Madam President, I want to point out some statistics. 92,000 of our coal miners are counting on us to protect their pensions. 13,000 coal miners are counting on us to protect their health care benefits. And this week we'll have a chance to do just that. I am very proud to have worked with our leader, Leader McConnell, Senator Manchin, Senator Portman, and others to introduce and champion the bipartisan American Miners Act. I appreciate that my counterpart on the House side, Congressman David McKinley, has worked consistently and tirelessly on this bill in the House, along with our other representatives from West Virginia, Alex Mooney and Carol Miller. And most of all, I appreciate the West Virginia miners and their families who've traveled to Washington to advocate for their promised benefits and for their communities. I stood out at the Capitol with thousands of coal miners and their families several years ago in seriously suffocating heat, as D.C. can heat up during the summer, to rally in support of those benefits. Miners have come to Washington in the snow and in the rain. Their camouflage shirts have stood out around the Capitol as they work tirelessly to educate us about the critical need for action, and you've probably seen them in the halls. But no one should be surprised by their dedication and commitment, because our West Virginia miners have answered the call throughout their careers. Their hard work provided the electricity and the steel that has powered our American economy. And the time has come to protect those retirement benefits that these miners have earned. The bipartisan American Miners Act will secure both pension and health care benefits for those hardworking men and women. I want to thank the United Mine Workers of America and their president, Cecil Roberts, for his work and their work in advocating for our miners. More than 25,000 miners from all of our West Virginia's 55 counties will have received payments from their pension benefits last year. More than 5,600 West Virginia miners are at risk of losing their health care benefits if we fail to act. Almost $200 million in pension benefits have been in the West Virginia are paid from this fund into the West Virginia economy as it's spent. The loss of those funds would certainly have harmed the retirees themselves, no doubt, but also the local businesses that they patronize across the state and their communities. As one West Virginian wrote to me just last night, quote, "My father is a retired miner from Marion County who will be turning 80 in January. This will give him and my mother some long overdue and well-deserved peace of mind. They have been worrying unduly about this through the last several months." Thousands of miners in West Virginia and elsewhere in coal country will have a merrier Christmas when this bill becomes law later this week. I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting this critical legislation. There are a number of other reasons to support the appropriations bills that we will be considering in the next several days, and I wanted to highlight one that can have a significant impact on my state of West Virginia. I was proud to ensure that in the Transportation and Infrastructure title of the appropriations bill, we fund the Appalachian Development Highway System at $100 million. That will help us as we work to continue the last remaining enormous project in our state, Corridor H. I've also advocated for action to address our structurally deficient bridges. My state has we got a lot of hills and we got a lot of valleys. We have a lot of bridges. Almost 20% of our West Virginia bridges are classified as structurally deficient. But I don't think that statistic I think it's a universal statistic in the country. This bill takes the absolute necessary step to provide funding for over $1.15 billion to fund highway bridge projects, of which West Virginia is eligible for $50 million. Roads and bridges have a huge economic impact on our communities and our quality of life, everything we do every day. I'm proud we've included these important investments. As chairman of the Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee, I want to address items included in our subcommittee's funding bill as well. A little over a year ago, I stood here to talk about the increasing crisis at our southern border. When I spoke to you then, apprehensions at our southern border were 30% higher than they were the year before. And they were much higher than they are today as I speak. And the crisis was not limited to the realm of illegal immigrants, because fentanyl seizures were up 115%, along with other illicit narcotics, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana. But thanks to the leadership of the President and also this Congress, this situation has improved. We should also recognize the improved coordination with Mexico and partnerships with other countries that have helped curb the flow of those entering our country illegally. But though the situation has improved, it is far from being solved. And frankly, we are one ruling away from an activist judge that could create the flows of those trending upward again. As such, I'm proud to say that the Homeland Security title in the package we are considering this week provides funds and resources to continue the good work we have been pursuing to stem the tide of illegal immigration. I've seen firsthand on the border twice, the southwest border, the challenges we face, and yes, the progress that we've made. This bill supports the work of the men and women of the department at CBP, ICE, HSI, the Coast Guard, and many others who are daily standing watch on our borders, on our coasts, and on our computer networks. This bill invests in personnel, particularly by creating a new position, Border Patrol Processing Coordinators. This was a particular interest of mine after talking to numerous people at the department and while visiting the border, describing the frustration that they felt as agents and officers. This funding provided for these processing coordinators will return 240 of our border agents to the front lines to enforce our immigration laws, which is what they're trained to do. In regard to physical barriers, we provide the enacted level of $1.37 billion. But the only thing similar to last year is the amount of money provided, because the flexibility that we provide the department is a significant change and a significant improvement. The bipartisan FY17 appropriations bill required our Customs and Border Protection to provide us with a comprehensive border security improvement plan. I was going to bring it here with me today, but I'll be honest with you, I left it in my office. The funds that we provide this week will enable the department to follow that plan. While passage of our Senate bill would have been ideal, a continuing resolution would have had a devastating effect on Homeland Security. The bill we are going to pass will help us take another step forward in securing our border. I am so very proud of the men and women who work at the Department of Homeland Security, and I've gotten to meet quite a few. The crisis they faced when I spoke here last year was a real one. But through their dedication and efforts, so much progress has been made, and I look forward to speaking to you a year from now about what we've been able to accomplish with the resources and tools that we can provide them with this bill. There are many other vital provisions across our appropriations bill, including a 3.1% pay increase for our troops, and significant increasing in funding for our veterans for the Mission Act, increasing funding for combating the opioid epidemic, expanding our rural broadband, and researching cures for diseases. One of those diseases hits many of us and has hit me quite personally, and that is Alzheimer's. So research for Alzheimer's is, I think, absolutely essential, and we are increasing that. I commend all my colleagues who worked to put together the bipartisan appropriations bills. I congratulate Senator Shelley in particular and Senator Leahy for working together, and I look forward to voting for these bills later in the week. With that, I yield back.